Hello, everyone. This is Coach Matt for the Seattle Chess School. And today we'll be watching Pocket Thesaurus play. This will be watching students or watching viewers. And we'll do this in as many videos as possible to make it more fun. So what we'll do is we'll watch the games of Pocket Thesaurus, who typically likes 10+0 game, 10+0 time control. For brevity, we'll just refer to him as PT. PT, very exciting player here, likes dynamic positions where giving up material is no problem, always playing for the initiative, always playing for the attack. This first game here, he's playing a player rated 2024, and it looks like he has a whole ocean of pawns. In fact, 4 of them in his favor. I'd note here that he's got 3 pass pawns, which is always a nice treat. And he's now trying to defend himself. So in this type of position, of course, the only thing we really have to watch out for is that White's pieces that are aimed this way do not make mate. Now here, obviously, White's trying to go for a rook h3 with some sort of attack on the king. So we'll expect some sort of defensive move, defensive continuation here. Seems like he's doing okay. In 10+0 chess, of course, we have to worry about running out of time since there is no increment. Here, PT's already down over 3.5 minutes on the clock. Now, being down on the clock doesn't necessarily mean anything. You know, lots of games, of course, are lost on time, but if you use the time wisely and you continue to make good moves, that should matter more. And here, of course, rook d8 did develop a piece, but it did encourage the rook h3 attack. So the slowness of the response to this means that he did not anticipate g4 was going to lead to rook h3. So he will have to defend himself. So here, probably g6 is the only try, right? Queen g5. So this is obviously playing for here. And I would take a page out of Gatakomsky's book and possibly do something like Queen b2, Queen g7, which is a maneuver not entirely like this, but I recall a game where he did something like this against FIDE master Asa Hoffman, where he put his queen into some area just to be able to do a billiard shot back over to help defend his king. Here we have rook f7, which is another way to do it. So this way he can play rook d7 rather, or queen d7 in order to guard sideways. So let's see what Mr. Sin Gates does here. There is a pawn in take here if he wants. So very interesting position. So he will have to defend himself. So queen to e7. So this is threatening immediate checkmate. Rook f7 is no good when the rook is hanging. So it's either going to be rook here or queen here. Rook here, of course, is possibly running into queen e6 check. So we might expect queen to d7. Now, queen to d7, White also can play rook takes h7, and we could trade queens, and White will win at least 1 pawn back. But it's not clear. Well, no, then the bishop hangs at the end. So this is a really good move. There is no threat, and since 2 things are under attack, this means White will be forced to trade queens, one way or the other, and then do something about his bishop on the next turn. But the extra pass pawns should win. This, of course, blunders the bishop if he wants it, which he does, and all is well. So the only thing that is concerning is his time, but 3 minutes ought to be enough. So already we're looking at moves, centralizing moves like queen d5. Maybe a centralizing move like knight d5. Get the queenside passers going. Rook c8 is a move, trying to take control of some more files. This is very aggressive, so this is typical PT style. Not really, I mean, it is defensive, but the main thing is to put more pressure here. And he tries to double on the F file. Okay. So that will, that makes the F1 rook rooted right where he is. So I suppose that's nice. He still has queen d5. He can play queen d2. He has a number of moves. When you're +6, you get all the options. So knight to d5. I mean, this is of course resignable. Queen g5. So trying some last chance attack on the king, which is also understandable. So here comes knight d5. And that should be the end. Of course, in 10-minute chess, you can always play for flag fall and try to run your opponent out of time. So we'll probably expect white to try to play for that. Rook to e1. So a move like e3 seems good. Yeah. Queen e7 also seemed okay. This is a little more decisive. This sacrifices a pawn, but it gets rid of the rooks, which takes away white's any last chance that white will have for checkmate. So fairly good. So the only thing you have to watch out for here are perpetual checks. If somehow the queen gets in to cause some problems, then there might be a perpetual. Okay. And then follow this up with maybe queen f6. That looks decisive. Queen, yeah, he found it. Yeah, very good. Queen f6. So now if white wants to keep the queens, it can only go to here, which allows queen b2 check and some ongoing initiative with all the extra material. Also, if queen to h6, black can just ignore that and just simply play go pawn go on this side of the board, since the queen is not doing anything. So, and this, oh, well, no, this, okay, so, oh, and then he's going to go queen g6. I get it. And that's going to force the ladies off the board. Very, very, very nice. Very, very nice. This, of course, doubles the G pawns, but the extra piece and the two passers, that's more than good enough. And the 2 extra minutes is going to seem like 2 hours here. So this is fairly easy stuff. Good. And now we'll get to play it out, but this will be no problem at all. Knight f4 wins another pawn. And resigns. Extremely good technique there, PT. Well done. All right. So game 2. Ooh, a much higher rated player. We like these games. Cyprian. So PT. Haha. Okay. So he plays a number of defenses. When usually the Sicilian, yep, we'll see the O'Kelly, the A6. This is a very good less popular version of the Sicilian, playing A6 on move 2. Leads to all kinds of interesting play by both sides. I don't think it's unplayable, even though it's not a developing move and it doesn't have anything to do with the center. It actually could do something with the center depending on how white plays. So here it looks like PT's going for a triangle. So probably G6, bishop G7, knight GE7, castles. Something like this. Yep. This is all very well and good. Now this might allow F5 though. F5 sometimes is a good wedge that can be thrown into the position here. Let's see if white does that. I wonder if F5 wedge could have actually been prevented in some way. Or I wonder if he plays F5, if it's even a good move. It's usually something that we should be concerned about. F5 and gains space. It blocks out the bishop, prevents the dark bishop from getting into the game. It also prevents any piece from using the e5 square. In some cases, it threatens f6, depending on how black develops. Like, for example, f5, knight ge7, f6 wins a piece. White plays this very carefully. So white's got basically, we have a closed Sicilian now, which I guess we had in the first place. The only difference is here in this particular version is that black has played a6 rather early. Now, this, of course, will help with some sort of b5, b4 pawn assault, but it does waste a tempo. Bishop to e6. So this means what? Going for a d5 plan? Now, again, trying to go for f5. So this might be a time where we might want to chop this guy and prevent f5. That, of course, allows knight takes f4, but that might be better. The only other move that looks even mildly interesting is pawn f5. I'm sure there's somebody out there that might actually like playing f6 and just go into a huddle if you need be. But okay, so here he prevents f5 forever. And of course, here we would expect knight takes. I suppose bishop takes is also possible, but okay, knight takes. So the question is, do you want to save the bishop or not? If not, I suppose the castles is just a good move. White takes, black takes, and black's got there's an open F file and mobile center. There's also queen to d7. Queen d7 might run into knight a4, so you got to be careful there with knight b6 ideas. Yeah, I'm certain that backing up is probably a waste of tempo. That doesn't look so good. So he goes for this plan. So, all right. Now, well, so he plays pawn to a4. Knight to a4 might have been at least worth a little bit of a think. This, of course, blocks out b5. Okay, so here we go for dynamism. This is the PT way. Always playing for some sort of at least an initiative. This is actually an interesting move because in some cases, black is threatening to play check and force the white king to go to the H file, and then HG is a problem. So this is interesting. And now PT's got an extra time on the clock. This is good. This is good. This is unusual for him. Normally he's the thoughtful one. H5. Okay, so this has really set him thinking. So this is definitely causing problems. Probably the most dynamic move for white is to take, but that might unleash some problems here. So is G5 an idea? Just trying to close it down? That seems kind of distorted, if you ask me. So white has a problem here. Perhaps he should just exchange off and take off some of the pressure. He does get the bishop pair with that too. Yeah, that's the other thing I don't like about a4 is that now black has the resource of castling long, and white has a couple of moves whoa, he takes. That just seemed wrong. Bishop d4 check, followed by gh, followed by castles. That looks pretty dynamic. He does that first, sacking a pawn. So this is also the PT way. Sacrificing pawns almost unnecessarily, but does so just, again, for dynamic chances. We really haven't seen players like this very often in the computer era. Takes once. So what? Queen or pawn? Queen or pawn? Queen or pawn? Which way do we take? He takes with the pawn. So this prevents knight to d5 forever, but it does open the f file. Now, of course, rook to f7 is met by bishop d4 check, followed by g takes h or rook takes h, whichever way he wants to go. So getting more and more tense with every move here. Yeah, well, some people play chess for this exact reason, to play very, very tense positions. And it doesn't matter if they're material down or positionally down, as long as the position is tense, that's all that matters. That's the jazz of it all, the action of it all. So here he probably should throw in bishop d4 check and then take on g6 with the knight and then bring the c knight over to e5, something like that. He takes this one first. I suppose he could do this, although this gives a chance for white to play bishop e3, and now you don't get this move, not with check anyway. Okay, so now you probably have to play check and then bring the other knight over. That seems pretty logical. Good way to get all the pieces in all at once. Now he does this first. So this means the dark square bishop is temporarily out of the game, blocked in by his own bishop. I'm certain, though, he's trying to angle for rook dg8. That's his dream move here. Well, this gives him knight d4 for free. Should watch out for that. And then rook dg8. Getting a lot of tempos. Yep. That move's not hard to see. Rook df8. Oh, so this is the point, not g8. Well, I guess this is a move. Yeah, but it didn't make any threats. I guess rook dg doesn't really make any threats either, but it kind of set up threats later on. But just with one move, suddenly the dynamism is gone, or it's been slowed down somewhat. And white still is up a pawn. So let's see, knight g6. Yeah, good move. Good move. But now white has an extra defender to the king, and black has been slowed down somewhat. So trying to get rid of the light bishop. But that, yeah, rook dg8 would have been perfect with this combination of moves. It's like attacking on a pair of crutches or something. It's like you mean well, but you're slowed down. But okay, so you still got some dynamic pressure for the pawn. For those of you that like to play in this particular style where you give up material for dynamic pressure, one thing I would ask you to think about is what kind of a player are you when you have dynamic pressure with even material? If you've ever tried that, you ever tried just not sacrificing the pawn and then playing a dynamic position? Who knows? Might actually work. It's not completely terrible. It gives you extra options later on. It also makes it so that when you have even material, you can either play for the attack or you can play for any end game in confidence. When you sacrifice material, you can play for the attack, but not every end game could be approached with confidence. Because, of course, since your material down, if you trade down to an end game, you might actually be trading right into a loss. So white eventually came around to this knight a4 idea. Good for him. Now all of a sudden, knight b6 is a big giant threat. So he's probably got to move his queen g7. Yeah. or queen h7, something like that. So black's position is starting to look a little more threatening. So he takes once. Now you have to worry about bishop to d6. So, well, okay, so he wins another tempo, but okay, white's not adverse to an endgame. Can't say that I blame him. And again, you have all this sort of dynamic play, but if your opponent defends correctly, that pawn that was sacrificed does mean something. So a trade of queens is probably out of the question here. That gives white too easy of a position. Oh, but he trades anyway. Why does he get to take c2? Is this the point? But d6 hangs, so he has to take a tempo to guard d6. So he does, but this allows c3. No, check first. Aha, he's going for the d5 square. Of course, or the c4 square. Oh, this allows knight d5 with check. I don't know about that. White's getting everything with tempo here. He can even throw in c3. All right, so now we really have to start getting tricky here. Knight b3. Nah, not b3. Maybe. Yeah, well, geez, this is PT's way. Always do the riskiest thing possible. That's check. Okay, so what? Rook a3. Rook a3, knight c1, maybe? Maybe. I mean, it's getting more and more dynamic. You got all kinds of pieces going all over the place here. Might as well play knight c1 just for the fun of it. Nah, this doesn't threaten anything. That's the other thing about these types of positions. If you make moves that don't make threats, then your opponent basically gets a free move every time you do that. And if your opponent is good enough, and if they're rated 2198, they usually find ways to improve their position on turns where you don't make threats. And so here he's trying to correct his queenside structure, I suppose. Also trying to remind black that he is a king. Okay. So the rook is awfully close, maybe too close. Right. Now here, if he plays c takes b, knight takes b, king c5, that should lose to d. Whoa, what about your rook? And then, well, rook c3. There's too many things hanging here, so that means that there's got to be some sort of combination. Rook c3, knight d2, rook c2. Well, maybe. I don't know. This is getting complicated. He got his pawn back, but now everything he has is under attack. So he probably has to play knight d2. That's forced. Maybe he gets away with this. Knight d2, bc, dc, bishop c5, bishop e5 rather. That might be something. Yeah, maybe white still has the advantage here. Well, knight d2 is forced, so why he's thinking for this long is impractical. In blitz chess, I would even say all the way up to 10-minute chess. If you have an only move, play the only move and think on the next turn. This isn't even a piece of advice that I could give. This is one that Bent Larson gave a long time ago. So just make the move that you're supposed to, and then think on the turn where where you have a choice. This position, black has no choice except for knight to d2. So yeah, so now he's just running his time down here. This is extremely impractical, of course. Yeah, no, this just loses the rook. And nah. This is so yeah, thought for that long, but didn't even find the move. And now you're just down a rook. Game over. And you can resign. Well, okay, so he's gonna play it out. This is Sparta, I suppose. No, this gives him a pass pawn. Maybe. No, it doesn't give him a pass pawn. But again, it's just a free rook. So he's going to play for the dirty flag. All right, fine. Can't block that. Mm-hmm. There will be no dirty flag today, and resigns. All right, so now that was a good game up to a point. No problem there. Okay, so here we got a guy rated 2093. So here PT plays the modern Benoni, plays the Banco, dabbles in the Gruenfeld here and there. So here he's going for more of a Benoni type of thing. E6 is a good move, in my opinion. I like this move. On knight c3, on this move, I like b5. On knight c3, I like b5. So he goes for this one, the Blumenfeld counter gambit. Very good way to play against this. So let's see what Pawa does here. So he accepts, but of course here black can take on d5. So usually they do something with the d5 pawn first before they play c takes b5, like d takes e6, and then c takes b5. Losing the center pawn for a flank pawn gives, this has got to be good for black. Also, this move, a4, gives away the b4 square. So that'll be nice. a6, I like this move. Trying hard to get rid of the b5 wedge, in which case now in the future, knight c6 becomes a possibility. You could take with the bishop, and now the bishop is good. Black has got a very coordinated position already after move 7. So that's this is my opinion, this is a perfectly good way to play the opening. Okay, so that's a blunder. That loses the bishop. Let's see if PT finds this. Knight takes bishop. Knight takes bishop. Yay! And resigns. So, yeah, I called it. Very good. So, all right. So the guy blunders a bishop. Not, I mean, very interesting that a 2093 player would do that, but such things happen. Mouse slips, all kinds of things. Okay, so finally we get the white pieces here. PT likes the Verisov. He also likes the Reti. He also likes the Catalan. Reti and the Catalan are somewhat related. This looks like it's going to be just a regular Slav. This, let's see, like take once and queen b3 looks pretty good. That's usually the way to handle these early bishop moves. If black could actually play like this and play it like a reverse London, then this would be a this would be black's most popular defense against the queen's gambit. Yeah, that's a good move, but I think taking once first and then pawn takes and then queen b3 is a little more devastating. Here, black at least has the option of playing DC if he wants. Well, I mean, that's Yeah, fairly typical. But white can put a lot of pressure on d5 now. Yeah, this is too ambitious. Or maybe not even ambitious enough. Maybe that's it. Yeah, blackout in e6. What white should have done is actually capture once and then move the e pawn in such a way that bishop to b5 was a way to take advantage of the light squares. Now, if he takes on d5, he's just going to take with the e pawn, and there'll be no problem there. So now black has just basically got a fairly solid position here. I suppose white has a solid position too. So this is less dynamic than PT's normal idiom. So we'll see how he handles the sedate positions too. So probably bishop e2. Bishop e2 is probably normal. Yeah, see, that's the problem with if you're going to put the queen on here very early, you have to put some sort of pressure on black's position. If you play the queen out here and then put no pressure on the position, then the queen is just misplaced. Simple as that. So here, I guess he gets to correct this with tempo. This is fine. E4, castles, something like that. Probably castles first, just castle, and then try for e4. Make sure that there is no bishop b4 check at the end of that. He played b3. Okay, so this is also typical. But he didn't get in e4, so now black's all ready to play e5 in a couple moves, probably with knight here and queen here, or queen here. Yeah, so yeah, this particular style of playing for dynamic possibilities in the initiative. Sometimes that type of thing entails not exchanging pawns or pieces. So this way, the pieces have the ability to participate in the game and do all this kind of stuff. But if your opponent plays it right, sometimes you'll wish that you had actually exchanged off earlier, which also gives opportunities as well. But okay, so here black just breaks. And this is going to not be very dynamic at all. So white has to take. Now the question is, does white have to take here? Can white go like queen f5 and play something interesting? Or is white going to trade off 2 more times and dissolve the position? He does go queen f5. Okay. So he has some pressure here. Check. So probably with the knight. Yeah. So he has a good place for this rook if he wants it later on. White has a lot of space on the king side. So to trade or not to trade? Trading once, then trading twice, trading thrice, and then putting the knight on d4 might be a reasonable endgame advantage for white, knight versus bishop. Keeping the queen over here on the king's side might be interesting as well. Threatening bishop takes f6, and if h6, then you can hide out on h4 and try to use the bishop, queen, and knight, for chances on the king's side. Still trying to angle for getting rook fd1. So that's an option. Let's see what he chooses here. He's putting a lot of time into it. One thing about PT is that the longer he thinks, the more unusual his next move is going to be. He never thinks for a long time and then does something solid. He will always do something. Yep, there it is. So he thinks for a long time and does something uh, dynamic. Now, this, of course, sets up a lot of tactical threats, so black's got to pay attention. Black can't play, for example, queen to g4, trying to trade queens, because white will just simply play bishop takes f6, and that wins at once. Black also can't play knight e4, centralizing and hitting the queen, because queen g7's mate. So, and then if he does nothing, then bishop takes f7 wins the knight. So he's got to do something very careful here. Okay, so that's careful enough. And here, queen h4 would be my suggestion. Actually, it turns out that's the only real move anyway. Everything else is hanging. So you got to play queen h4. Okay, so now you're threatening bishop takes f6, which will ruin black's king side. And now black will probably play bishop e7, setting up discoveries. Unless rook e4. I just saw rook to e4. Oh, no. Yeah, okay. So this dynamic plan isn't going to work. So probably going back a couple of moves, the first suggestion that I had of just simply trading to beat up all the pawns, then trade here to isolate the d pawn, and then plop the knight on d4 probably gave white an endgame edge. Not really his style, but I mean, sometimes you have to play this way, especially when black's got centralizing moves like rook e4. So yeah, no, this traps the queen. So he's got to play this, which of course will not give him any endgame edge whatsoever. And now he can even take on c4 maybe if he wanted to. And really beat up white's pawns. So, okay, so he just plays it normal. King h1. He must be going for this. Otherwise, yeah. Well, no, that's a blunder. He's got two pieces on that square. He just takes. Yeah. Whoops. Poor Michael. 83. And now PT's got a winning endgame here, just like that. Wow, that didn't take long. I'd be surprised if you play rook g1 now. There's no attack down the g line. That's insane. I still, after all these years, I want this move. c5. Okay, so trying to target something. Okay, so this doesn't help out his rooks at all. As a matter of fact, yeah, generally speaking, in order for rooks to be good, you need half or open files. So it seems to me like c takes d would have fit the bill, since it half opened the pawn, the C file. This, of course, closes all the files, and now we have to do a little bit more work to get our rooks into the game. Now all of a sudden, black's got a good knight. So white's up 2 points here. Black might have some compensation. Also, he has a time lead, so this is maybe something that looks like compensation. Maybe rook c2 should be played here. Defending the pawn, defending the square, threatening f3. Something like that. You could be chased around here. Rook g5, and then you got to go back into the hole again, because king f3 is knight d2. Yep. So that was a waste of a move. Maybe trying to angle for knight c4. This seems a bit too aggressive. So now he probably has to play rook g1 now. Funny, he never did play rook fd1. And now all of a sudden the d2 square is getting used. So f4. Look at that. Now all of a sudden he's losing material here. So again, playing for dynamic chances rather than just playing for simple exchanges when you're up material. And that's the problem with keeping all this stuff on, is that your opponent's stuff is also on, not just yours. It's theirs. It's their pieces too that matter. So for those of you that like to no exchange never, just remember that your opponent's pieces live too, and they can do the equal amount of damage as yours do. So it's good to remember that. Yeah, black might even have a draw here. Knight d2, yeah. Rook g3, knight e4, and some sort of repetition. So, he didn't want the repetition. He's going to try to win on time. Yeah, a lot of these guys do this. They're going to go for the time win. Now, again, he's probably going to try to double on the G file and hope for the best, but there is no attack there. So this is another thing. When you have rooks, you need, like I said, you need open files, at least half open files. If you close off all the files, your rooks are not worth 5 anymore. They're worth way less than 5. Yeah, unless he can play pawn f5 here, these rooks are not worth 5 and they're not worth 10 together here. In fact, I almost like black's knight better than either of the rooks. Maybe black should start trying to pick off some pawns here. Yeah. Page 1 of What Not to Do with Your Rooks by PT. So here he's trying to play for f5, but of course this move comes back in. Yeah, black's playing this correctly, I think. Just being irritating enough to cause problems. Okay, this is really great except for rook takes h3. Well, wait, takes h3 and f5? Maybe that's the point. Is white going, yeah, maybe white's got an idea here. So, yeah, just ignoring it all. Now rook takes e3 is the threat. Okay, trying to keep things as relatively close. So PT finally got a file open, but by this time it's cost him a couple of pawns here in order to do this. So again, like I said a couple games ago, if you can play dynamic moves and not give away material, try that. Try to see what that actually feels like and looks like. Yeah, black actually missed rook f3. Rook f3 would have been a great move one move ago. Now all of a sudden his rook is going to be way worse. He got lucky there. Yeah, instead of king g7, rook f3 was utterly simple. Okay, so this is angling for rook f3 still. Okay, going for g4, so h5. Threatening rook f3 check, followed by rook takes f5. I could still do it. Improve the rook, pick up another pawn. This does nothing. He just moves the rook. Oh, he's going for e. Well, no. E3 isn't going to be played. Well, unless he can take on e3 and go pawn d4. Can black get greedy here? Pawn d4, only move. Oh, he walked into that. And now it's just a losing endgame. Yeah, rook h3 was. Whoa, he didn't take on f2. Wow, that's weird. I thought he would play knight takes f2, not knight takes g3 and trade rooks, go into a king and pawn endgame, which was easily winning. I guess this is also easily winning. And all those pawns sacrifice come home to roost. And now black's up 4 pawns. He didn't take. Interesting. Oh, he's getting greedy. He's preventing king e5 first. F6, good move. There's another pawn. So he found some bright hope of counterplay. The c pawn is passed. This protects the pawn. Here, go pawn, go. I think he could have played go pawn, go, but this is probably also good. Go pawn, go. Rook f4 maybe. Rook c4. Rook takes pawn and then rook c4. Yeah, that's what he went for. Going for the greedy move and then put his rook on c4. And then every pawn he has is passed. 5 passers. He's going to play go pawn, go everywhere. No. That's just dead meat. That's not stale. All right. So you're down time and trying to. Usually, if you're going to play on like this, the times should be reversed. Your opponent has 12 seconds. You have 2:18. That you have something to play for. You don't want to have. Oh, now black's starting to show off. That's fine. Ooh, queening is stale. Come on, queen. Oh, he saw it. Very, very clever. Now he can queen with check, which is a lot better. Queening is stale. Oh, he missed it. Oh, so he had a good stalemate trick there that didn't work. Horus, 2091. All right, so let's get into this game. Knight f3. D5. He also plays the Rati system, so maybe he'll try that this time. Pawn c4. Yeah, he does. Okay. So, okay, Slav. So again, d4 is the correct move. And if bishop f5, then take once and then queen to b3. Give yourself, okay, did it again. Okay, so take once and queen b3. Come on, PT. Let's do it. Let's learn something. You just faced this opening. Well, here black can actually play e6 or take. Now this he should definitely take c takes d. Definitely take here. No, you got to take here first. You got to take here first. That's necessary. You got to give yourself some. You got to give yourself something to target. This one here, he could still probably play b6 and defend himself. But if he takes first and goes like this, b6 is a lot more weakening because there's a lot of pressure here on d5. Well, this he can just play c5. C5, queen takes queen, a takes queen. Oh, no. No, this is, oh, now he takes, but no, this is way worse. Way worse. This gives him nothing to attack. Great, wonderful. So now black is the one with, okay, so black's got some bad pawns, of course, here and here, but his rook is already awesome. His bishop is already awesome. Once the knight jumps in, I mean, this is already a threat. When e6 is played, the dark bishop is already going to be good. And white has no dynamic play whatsoever here. I mean, maybe the only thing he's got going is knight b5. I don't know. But this, I mean, yeah, and here you can just develop the knight. No big deal. Knight A6, knight C6. Yeah, knight C6, one of these moves. Yeah. Yeah, for the kids at home. This is why knowing what to do in the opening is so important. I know there's a lot of players out there that don't particularly think that the opening needs to be studied, and chess is fun without opening study. But if you know what you're doing in the first few moves of the game, it does improve. At the very least, it makes chess more fun, knowing what to do in every moment. If you're going to play an opening over and over and over again, you might as well know what the good moves are. So, yeah, this is going to be a long, drawn out game here. Rook C8. Maybe. Yeah, this is a way more subtle game here. It's probably E6. Maybe knight H5. No, not knight H5. Don't do that. You got to guard your D pawn. You got to get your dark bishop out. So E6 is basically mandatory here. Well, okay, this is a bit this is very greedy. Knight E5 might actually put some unpleasant pressure on the position. In some cases, might even threatening knight takes C6, B takes C6, bishop to A6. And here he doesn't bother to explore it. Almost an unnecessary castle by PT there. His king was not under any threat. Possibly we could have jumped in there. All right. Well, all right. So we just have a position. Now, if he can find some way to target the B6 pawn, this might lead to something like knight A4, for example. Oh, look at that. He found this move. So now knight to D7. Most probably. We have some weaknesses to farm on here. So maybe this might be still an interesting position. Yep, that was forced. He got a few seconds out of that. Now, and this is another thing I would mention in blitz chess, a really good technique is something that is known as move pairs, which means you make a move like say knight to A4, and when your opponent plays the forced response, what you do is you play your next move semi-instantly. Because I mean, in this position, when you calculate knight to A4 and you decide upon this move, you have to realize that the only way to defend the B6 pawn is for them to play knight to D7. So what he should have done is actually thought of this move, calculated that knight D7 was going to be played, and then have his next move immediately ready. So what you do is you think in move pairs. You think it like two moves ahead. So this way you can actually gain time. And especially since knight D7 took him quite a few seconds to come up with, coming up with your next move instantly should actually gain more time on your clock, which is a nice little trick that you can pull off even in 5-minute games. or any kind of blitz chess for that matter. And your opponent actually has to keep up that pace or fall behind on time. So here, like again, so here he played G5. It looks like the bishop G3 is the only move, and yet he's sitting here thinking for a few seconds. So this means that, as PT style, if he's thinking for a long time, he's always going to do something wild. He's never gonna think for 30 seconds and go bishop to G3. He's going to come in here to E5, or he's going to do something, like sack on G5 or something like that. Some sort of dynamic move. So this is it here. So he's giving up the bishop pair if black wants it. Of course, black will only have to take with this knight, not the other knight. Now this, of course, if knight takes, then b6 cannot be held. So for the bishop pair, white will eventually win a pawn with that one. So this is a good move, unless, of course, black has got f6. Is this a move? Also, he could just move the rook, I suppose. Just get out of the way and not bother the bishop. But with all of these in mind, white should have the next move, in mind already. Okay, so he has to anticipate something like this and then play his next move right away, which should gain more time on the clock because black has had to think his way through to get this position. So evidently he did not anticipate rook to G8. He probably just anticipated knight takes bishop, but nothing more. So now he's developing a plan again, but this is, of course, costing lots of time on the clock. So maybe a move like A3, trying to keep control of the B4 square. We would love to play rook C3 and try to double, but the bishop is coming to B4. So maybe that's another good reason for A3. Let's see. I suppose you could play something ultra solid like rook FD1. But the fact that this is taking too long means that he did not anticipate rook to G8. One of PT's strategies that he likes is to offer exchanges that when the opponent actually accepts, that it actually helps out his own position. And he generally speaking plays for this at every single moment. So this is an interesting move. So now if he takes on E5, he does not have the resource knight takes E5. So the question is where's this knight going? Is it going to B3? Yeah, see, he missed that. Now all of a sudden he doesn't get, okay, so maybe I guess he still gets the pressure on B6. So of course he has to take. But the question is this pawn strong enough? I mean, he's just weakened his structure and his knight is badly placed suddenly. Was this worth winning the B6 pawn? Maybe so. Let's find out. So what? Bishop G7 maybe. Bishop B4. Bishop B4 to A5. That might be a little. I don't know about that. Not bishop to B4 to A5. Because like A3 B4 is good. And once the knight moves. Yeah, that's and then there's also bishop C5. But that gives away a pawn in a different way. So he's getting all his time back. So again, now what he should do is try to anticipate the move by black and have his move ready. You know, like if he plays bishop g7, you have f4 ready, or knight f3 ready, or whatever it is that you want to play. Or if it's knight takes b6, have these moves ready. So this way you can gain more time on your clock, which, I mean, now all of a sudden it's equalized. He had a couple of minute disadvantage there. Now all of a sudden he's ahead. So doing a move pair. Okay, so here all he has to do is save the knight and farm on b6 or a3 and b4. So knight b3 seems reasonable. Knight f3 seems reasonable. Let's see how long it takes him for him to do something with this knight. Okay, not bad. So that, I mean, that I think that took a little too much time off the clock because you had to anticipate Black was going to do something like that. But that wasn't completely terrible there. Maybe a good use of time. So now knight d4 is a thing. A3 is a thing. Knight b6 is a thing. He's got some serious pressure here. And now he's back up on time on the clock again. Okay, so again, so maybe he rips this right now. Good. See, that was quick. That's what I'm talking about. Have that move ready. And then maybe you should even have this move ready too, like knight d4. Just play these moves, you know, these good moves very quickly. Actually, knight d4 isn't a pin anymore. Oh, no, it is a pin. I'm sorry. It's a pin going this way, not this way. Oh, but now he's thinking again. Okay, so a3. So here he's going to go bishop a5. Only good move. And then he should probably have knight a4 ready because that's the only good move for him. And then he's threatening b4. Knight c5 can come in. Knight d4 is still in. Okay, so that was reasonably quick, but again, he could probably save like 2 or 3 seconds by doing it instantly because it was the only move. And he should be trying to calculate here. So this, of course, is running into knight d4. Yes. Okay, so Black should probably take here now. Well, maybe not. Wait. Okay, so now White's got this threat of b4. Although I guess he could trade rooks. So maybe he should take. Okay. So this is playable. Okay, so now we have even material, but now we have a time advantage. Rook c1. Oh, no, he takes that one first. Okay. So that weakens some pawns. And then rook here. One of those. No, he saves his knight first. Probably also a good move, just threatening rook b1. Okay, rook d8. Good. Okay. Yeah, now that was excellent. So he anticipated rook d8 and he quickly played knight to e2. Good. So this is threatening knight f4 check. And see what he did there is by playing rook d1 fast and knight e2 fast, suddenly he's forcing his opponent to think. And especially when you get down to under 2 minutes, every time you're forced to think, this could be very close to being fatal. Very hard to get around on all this. So knight to c4. Knight to c4. So what? Knight d. Well, but that allows here. And suddenly just blundered upon. b2 hangs. So what? Rook b2, maybe? Rook d2, I mean. The rook is hanging here, so maybe this is a trap. Rook d2. No, he missed it. His rook. Oh no. No, 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 no. Oh my goodness. Uh, yeah, you're playing fast now, but you're just totally lost now. So this is, I mean, this is way beyond the fact. Wow. Well, that was too bad. All right. Well, let's get back to it. So what, Benko Gambit time? No, Benoni time. Take once. Pawn takes. D6. E4, modern Benoni. So G6 is a good move. So the modern variation, Bishop D3. G3. Okay, so this is new. I have not seen this one. Rook E8. So sort of putting pressure here, but not really. Oh wow, he got B5 in. Okay, so White has gone for some sort of King's Indian or yeah, maybe like a I guess just a fianchetto variation against the Benoni. Normally they don't allow all of this though. When black plays A6, obviously A4 slows us down. So this move. So he's trying to go for either knight E5 or knight B6 maybe, or C4 and knight C5. Let's see which one he chooses. You could try to play B4 and make this knight more uncomfortable. So bishop B7, what an interesting move. Putting pressure here. But is it enough? So where's the play here? Aha, so he is going for C4. Wonder if white could, yeah, we'll see what he does when this B pawn gets attacked. Rook C8. This one set Neo Man thinking here. Yeah, C4 in these kind of situations obviously sets up knight C5, but it also gives away the D4 square. So this type of move will give both sides certain play. Maybe white should try bishop to E3 to anticipate that. Like bishop E3, C4, knight D4. And just play chess. King H2. So he did go for this. All right. So because King H2, knight D4 in some situations might even run in a knight G4 check followed by bishop takes D4 and just exchange off pieces, but maybe in a slightly preferable way. So B4, this is trying to prevent knight C5, but it does. Yeah, now all of a sudden the octopus will show up on D3, and the octopus, of course, will hit F2, E3, C1, B2, B4, C5, back to E5 and F4. So such a piece is a dream piece in both the Benoni and the Benko Gambit. Getting the knight here is very nice. So maybe we would expect knight F4 If he wants to do an exchange sack, I would go for that. Yeah. This is already hitting F2. And like I said, it's just the octopus. It's hitting 8 different spots like this. And it's way too strong of a piece. It's a dream piece. It's actually one of the moves that takes advantage of the open any opening where white plays d4, c4, d4, e4. Of course, these are all excellent openings and opening systems to play. There is one drawback, if there is one drawback to that type of setup, is the d3 square gets weak, because if the pawn is on e4, d4, and c4, there is no more pawn that covers the d3 square. So if you can, in the future, put knights upon it or some sort of piece, you can dominate that square. So here, obviously, he's going for knight e4 to c4 this time. Be very hard to reestablish this. So maybe white should play f4 and slow that down. He also can get there, though, but knight b6, c4. So this is also a very good move. Good retreating move. So rook b3. So mostly defensive. So he says, give me your queen. F2 is a bit weak too. So maybe queen b6 is a possibility. In some cases. This is a good post. In spite of the fact that this all this was set up like this bishop on b7 is still not that great. I mean, he's got a good rook here, good bishop here, good knight here. Queen is basically okay, although bishop e3 might be a reasonable move there. But this light square bishop is still going to have to take a few moves. So maybe in this position, instead of queen b6 allowing that tempo, maybe we make a move like maybe rook c4, something like that, where we can like put the bishop on c8 and try to improve him. Excuse me. All right, so he's got to do something with the queen. So he gave white a free move there. So now something to d4 maybe, pawn f4. Well, he goes pawn f4. All right, so knight c4, bishop d4. Seems logical. Yeah, all logical. And if they take, you can take with the queen. In fact, you probably should take with the queen because of the knight e3 possibility. So let's see what PT does here. With the bishops looking at each other. We have a long think here. How interesting. So this means he's going to do something spicy and wild here. What, like bishop h6, something like that? Bishop f8. Queen d8. Hard to say what is this move's all about. Again, he's probably anticipating that white's going to capture, in which case he has king takes followed by queen f6. But again, with this anticipation of capture type strategy where you're trying to hope that your opponent takes you, the one thing that you must always wonder is what happens if they don't? I mean, do you actually have a good position, or what did the move that they play, does this actually turn out to be a good, nice little good free move to throw in? Who knows? Maybe he's going to try to unlock the king side with h5. Maybe it's just a good waiting move. Also, he's making room for bishop to h3. That could be a nice little peekaboo move. And then the rook has got to do something. Although that actually might allow the rook to, well, no, we got to be careful here. But if the rook moves away, then, of course, then we have a time to get our light square bishop back and possibly exchange off light Bs, which might be good for black because black's light B is doing nothing at the moment. So now, but once again, here we see a long think here. That means he did not anticipate h4. He did not anticipate that he wasn't going to take. So this means that if white had something in mind, he could also play quick and start using move pairs to his advantage. But now he's starting to think again. So maybe he didn't anticipate this move. Bishop h3 looks somewhat annoying there. Let's see. a4. So he hits him on a totally different side of the board. Interesting. Huh. That is interesting. That puts all kinds of pressure on b5. So that, yeah, that was a surprising move. Just thought that because of h4, he was going for some sort of kingside initiative, but now he's attacking on both sides of the board. I like this very much. Okay, so now we have a serious problem here. Yeah, perhaps he should actually capture and to take the pressure away, but this will give both sides weak pawns on the queen side if black takes. Black takes, white takes, and then it's black's move, but both sides will end up with some weaknesses there. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. So trying to do something extra nifty here. And it also sacrifices a pawn on the queen side. So here comes the sacrifice. This is all the way of PT. Get dynamic chances through obscure sacrifices, which of course seems really fun, and it does spice up your life. So, and there's a few people that play this way on a regular basis. All right. So this, in fact, sacrifices the pawn back. I forgot that black was actually up a pawn there. Or was he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. 4. Oh, that's right. He won the exchange. I forgot about that. He had the octopus on d3, and then white won the exchange, or black won the exchange for a pawn, but then sacrificed a second pawn, which now makes the position materially equal. Okay, I get it now. I forgot about that. So now there's all this action on the queen side. White now has a queen side passer, but black has some good looking pieces. Oh, he trades now. Oh, he's going to put the other knight on d4. I get it. He's going to put the b knight there. So what, take with the queen, right? Yep. And then b knight to d4. So now he's preparing knight c6. He's also preparing pawn to b5. So black enjoys an extra exchange here. But white actually enjoys a 2-pawn advantage. And he's got a very giant center, and he's got an outside pass pawn. So I don't know. I would say that white might be better here. Better looking pieces, more dynamic chances. And now he's starting to get a lead on the clock. But of course, knight c6 anyway. And now white has an octopus. if he wants it. Knight c6. And then that knight will be reaching out in every direction, defending, attacking, here, 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 and here. And he does it. Yay. Okay. So does black do the same thing? Sacrifice a knight for a far reaching knight like this? It's reaching in every direction. No, he does not. He attempts to exchange this for the bishop. But of course, knight e d4 is very playable, which wins another tempo. So one octopus disappears, but then it gets replaced by another. Just like Samael, the Hound of Resurrection. You get rid of one and two take its place. Oh, but look at this. He says, I want to win a second exchange. Mm-hmm. So this was the point to bishop to b5, is to land this one. All right, so I'm sure that white won't mind play this position 2 exchanges down. Just simply take. Yeah. So since he's got the clan of octopi here plus the passed pawn, that should be more than enough for the 2 exchanges. My old friend, National Master Michael Oshiro used to say that one is not a real chess player until you've actually played a tournament game where you sacrifice 2 exchanges and win. So white, Neo Manville, by the Oshiro standard, this is a game where you become a real chess player if you can win this game, because you sack 2 exchanges and you have a good position here. So welcome to real chess, especially if you can win this game. Oh, that runs into 97 check, picking up one of the exchanges back if he wants it. And then you put the other guy on c6. Can also play b6 first and then play knight e7. That's probably even more pay. Well, actually, I guess this is hanging. So maybe this isn't so easy. But there's that peekaboo move. And suddenly there's a pin. So he has to win a tempo on the queen. And probably queen c2. Got to guard this and this. Queen e3. Maybe queen e3. Queen f3. So this way, I mean, he has some abilities to push these pawns down the board if need be. So he finds some irritation chances with rook a2. So the peekaboo move has to return. All right. So still not threatening anything. So what? Probably e5, maybe f5. Okay, so this is another way to do it. So this puts pressure here. So what, f6? Yeah, maybe. I think he probably has to do that now. All right, so queen h6. Yeah. And now maybe some sort of combination. Oh, he wants to trade queens here. Oh, and he succeeds at that. Uh-oh, okay. So now white is seriously threatening e5, and the pawns are marching 10 by 10. Hurrah, hurrah. So this hits f4. Defending. Hitting this. Yeah, that might run into rook a3. Uh-oh. Now black all of a sudden has some chances here. Getting rid of one. Oh, that wins the b5 pawn. So take, and wins the f4 pawn. Okay, so now he's just up to clear 2 exchanges. So, oh, he didn't find rook takes f6. He didn't take the pawn. Oh, he just gives away another rook. Wow, and white didn't take. So PT is having a big problem giving away rooks today. Free rooks at PT. So he does get this fast pawn. That's check. That's also check. That is almost mate, but not quite. So now it's dirty flag time. Who's going to survive? Oh, Neo man, you had a chance to become a real chess player. I think he had a great game with that double exchange sacrifice. That was classic stuff. But in the end, PT held tough and had enough dynamic chances to dirty flag and win there. All right, so wow, third Slav of the night. So let's see if we can finally get this right. So here, I think PT likes queen b3. He still likes this move. I like knight c3 myself. This isn't PT style, but maybe he's just doing this just to try out something new. I like knight c3, just normal development. Let's just play the Slav defense. Not try to refute it, just simply try to get a good position against it. Knight c3 is the way to go. And here we have either bishop g5 or pawn to e3. Both of these moves are perfectly acceptable. Let's see what old PT goes for here. This is, I guess, playable. This isn't yeah, and I guess you could still go e3 and transpose. E4, huh? Okay, well. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, knight takes knight, queen takes knight, bishop b4 check. Some continuation like this. Black has got some pretty easy development here. I guess he's got his light square bishop problem as normal, but he does this first. And then probably bishop b4 next. Maybe you could play it like a Cambridge Springs kind of strategy. Bishop b4 check followed by queen a5 and see what happens. And then work to get your light square bishop out. So yeah, this would be like a really excellent defense for black if somehow you can correct the light square bishop. c5. I wasn't expecting that one. Yeah, this is probably reasonable too. So here, probably bishop to e3, followed by rook to d1 of some kind. Knowing PT, he's going to sacrifice a pawn here. He doesn't want to get involved in that type of stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if he played something like bishop d3, and if black took on d4, then he would just live with this pawn sacrifice and just castle. Yep, I know my man PT. He's like, yeah, here's a pawn, and now I'm going to develop a couple pieces and hope that this pawn sacrifice means something. So at some level, I mean, okay, so black's got a bad bishop and white's got a majority now of 3-2. So again, he's got dynamic possibilities But again, is it possible to get such positions but without sacking the material? That might actually be better and healthier. So black plays, of course, h6. Good move. This way, black can castle in peace if he wants to, and then not have to worry about bishop takes h7 check. Wow, so he's just saying, yeah, forget this. Let's just go for the attack. Got an extra pawn. We got a lot of space. Yeah, but this might be exactly up PT's alley here. Now he might actually have something for this pawn. Black's king is a bit drafty. So rook to e1 is probably coming in, a3 and try to play b4. Something going to e5. Maybe white even has the move h4, trying to weaken stuff on the king side. He now probably has some good compensation for the pawn. Yeah, I thought instead of g5, I thought black's most simplest move was just castle. And then just get on with it. Bishop d7, bishop to c6, that type of thing. So let's see. White also has the ability to play pawn b4 if black keeps his king on d7, e8 there. So pawn to b4, and if black plays bishop takes b4, and queen a4 check, will pick up the bishop. So b4 is also a threat. Okay, so but not anymore. So now he castles, but he did this and this first. Yeah, I'd seriously be thinking about h4 here. Just loosening the king side. Rook e1. Okay, so sedate development. That's cool. Hmm. Well, so now he's got a time advantage, small one, but it's good that when you play in this particular style, that if you are the one with the clock advantage, this really is conducive to the dynamic possibilities style. If you're going to sack pawns and sack pieces to get and sack exchanges to get all kinds of crazy positions, having the clock on your side actually helps out that particular style a lot more. If you play this particular style and it takes you minutes and minutes and minutes to think of this type of stuff, then you'll end up with a lot of positions where you're down in material and you're down severely on the clock, which is a really bad combination. Very hard to win with that. So he's making him think here. So like rook e1. I mean, is the idea like rook e5 and possibly sack on g5? Wonder if that's an idea. Excuse me. Rook there. This king side's getting creakier and creakier. So he does go for this, but this, of course, runs into bishop d6. So I don't know if he's planning on sacking the rook on g5 or whatever, but this this does not seem correct. I don't know. Let's see what black comes up with here. I vote for that. Yep. Okay, fine. Good move. So again, so here's his dynamic attack. So this time it's an exchange that gets thrown in. So Black's kingside looks drafty, but and he looks like he's underdeveloped here. Oh, look at this move. What's this? So give me the rook. So is it PT's turn to sacrifice 2 exchanges and try to win? Can join the ranks of real chess players. How about rook e4? That might be interesting. Hitting the knight and the d pawn. That might be interesting. Oh, he's thinking. So this means we got to expect something absolutely splashy and spicy and saucy and everything. So what's the sauciest move do you think he's going to come up with here? Rook b5, maybe? No, he did play rook e4. Probably not a bad move, but he probably should have played that a little bit quicker than before, because there was really no other choice. Again, when you have only one choice, just play the one choice and think on the next turn. Let's see. So here he has to anticipate something. Maybe e5. Should probably try to anticipate e5. Might even be an f5. Rook takes d4. Queen a5. Maybe. Maybe f5. Rook takes queen f6. Nah, that takes away the square from the knight. E5 might be simplest because it releases the light bishop. He's up 3, so he can afford to give 1 back just to free his position. He does go for this. And he had the move ready. Good man. Good man. That's what you should be doing. So here he should anticipate the next move by the queen, either here or here. Yeah. Queen a5. So sometimes he's got to worry about a possible queen a1, or you might have to worry about this move too. So at least giving him something to worry about. Also, f4 might be a thing. Although that might be a little risky. Huh. Yeah, you might even have rook takes g4 there. Rook takes g4, f takes g, bishop h7 check. Maybe. Maybe that was on. Rook takes knight. Pawn takes, bishop h7 check. And if he goes to a dark square, then bishop e5 check is crushing. And so if he goes to f8, then he's got bishop d6 check. Wow, that might have been really good for white. That might have been good. So here he does kind of the same thing, but he didn't go for the double exchange sacrifice. So that might have been PT's chance to join the ranks of real chess players. So he just retreated. So he probably has to do something with the bishop. There you go. So, ooh, that might run into here. That might have been a blunder. Rook to d5 threatens bishop takes f5. Yeah, he found it. That's easy to find. And then this is next. So he can lose a2. h3 is starting to look really handy when he can have Luft. So bishop takes f5 looks really strong. I guess it doesn't look very strong. So what could he possibly be calculating here? Yeah. So again, fairly obvious move. Try playing it instantly. So when it's the only move, it might actually improve the game. So here we can win another pawn back. Yeah, this is protected, so this is okay. Suppose you can also play rook d1 if you want. It might be worth a go. Again, that one took 35 seconds. I mean, it was quite a think. Now, if he takes with the rook, he probably should take with the bishop and win a tempo on this guy. Right? Take with the bishop. And then take with the queen. And this should give more than good compensation. King h2. Yeah, now I think black is in deep, deep trouble. This is a big threat. This is a big threat. This is a big threat. Yeah, just here is good. Win the knight. Just take the knight. Okay, well, don't take the knight then. Take the knight. What's wrong with that? I mean, sure, it's stupid, but what's wrong with it? And then if he goes rook to d8 to try to activate himself, then just bishop f6. Simple and good. Threatening queen a7 check. And no, see, this is well, maybe he's got queen d6 check, but the point is it's better to trap the king than it is to check the king in many attacking situations. This move, he's checking the king, but now the king, wow, now he's going really far away. What's this? I don't get it. What is he going? Bishop f6 here? No, he goes back again. You take a pawn with check. That doesn't hurt. He doesn't take a pawn with check. He never takes pawns with check. And then he just resigned. I should at least make him play it out. So that was an interesting win. That was actually a good battle. Sacrificing material. Oh, the Smith-Morra gambit. Let's see how he handles this. Here, in my opinion, knight f6 is by far the simplest way to decline the gambit. Just going into an Alpine Sicilian. This accepts the gambit. So now you have to have a system here. So yeah, there's d6 followed by a6. This one's different. This right away, huh? Knight ge7. Seems to me that I've seen this kind of thing before. Maybe even with bishop c5. Was that a Jan Timman suggestion? Bishop c5, knight ge7, and d6? That might have been an old suggestion of Grandmaster Jan Timman, as I recall. Maybe that's the wrong position. And it seems to me that the bishop was backed up one. Okay, so here he gives away the bishop pair. So hopefully this is a good defense here. Castles, knight g5 maybe. Maybe not knight g5. Knight g5, h6, knight h3, followed by f4, f5. Maybe that was an idea. He goes a4, so maybe he's trying to post up his bishop on d6, which would be really irritating. So black is up a pawn, but is cramped. So if somehow he can break free, is d5 a break free move? Maybe. Maybe. Knight g6. Okay, so he gets to actually park this guy. Rook e8, bishop d6. It is on. Okay, so we have a clogging routine here. So very hard to get rid of this guy. We'll probably try to expand all over the board here now. It's a pawn. Threatens there. Maybe tries to put a knight on e5. So pawn e5, pawn knight f5, knight b5. Maybe he ignores it and plays b6. Yeah, I just had a feeling that PT would go for b6, trying hard to develop his light square bishop to b7. And here comes the space gaining routine I was talking about. White's going to try to gain as much squares as possible, while at the same time, black is going to try to complete his development. So what? Bishop to b7. Let's see, is e5 a big threat? Yeah, we might be able to hide out on h4. E5, queen h4. Not the most comfortable situation. The other choice is to go back to d8, which looks even less comfortable. So maybe he does have to hide out on h4 and try to utilize one of these squares over here. Place the queen somewhere. So expect e5 here. Yeah, excuse me. All right, f5. So playing for even more tactical chances. Yeah, that looks pretty good actually. Yeah, way better than e5. Good move, coast to p. So threatening all kinds of things here. Takes. What is he going to do? Take this one? No, he's not going to do that. He's going to move the knight. But then he's walking into f takes e6. Yeah, this is looking close to over here. So what? E takes f, maybe? Well, maybe this isn't over yet. E takes f does a discovery on the bishop. E takes f, queen takes d6, f takes g. Maybe. Yeah, I think this is his only try. So, oh wait, so he gives away another pawn, but what's the point? So what, queen g5? Yeah, maybe black had enough to get out of this. This is massively, it looked massively unpleasant, but maybe there was some concrete way through this. So now black's just up 2 pawns. Uh-huh. And now knight f4 wins more material. Knight f4 might win more material. And this move doesn't. Okay, it threatens rook takes bishop. Okay, so he found a good development completing move. Knight f4 also looked interesting. But this is good. Now at least he completes development, and that's just a blunder. He could display rook takes bishop. And white resigns. PT should be able to find that. It was the purpose of rook c8, so that you could capture some more rook exchange sacrifices. But he's giving it a think. So this doesn't necessarily mean that he won't find rook takes c4. He's just making sure that it's okay. So here, of course, if queen takes rook, then queen takes g2 is mate. And he tapped. Very nice. Very nice. He looked like he was getting squeezed there in the old Smith Mora, but no. Here's his next opponent. So the Slav is the opening of the day here. a6. This is a more serious way to play. I like a6. And then knight f6 here. This move again. I would still say pawn takes pawn, c takes d, queen b3. So just simply, yeah, but again, yeah, okay, well now all of a sudden B7's hanging. Whoa, okay. White's playing really super fast here. Almost as if he's had this position before. So now he's 2 pawns up. And he could just run away. So yeah, this is not a great way to handle the Slav. Actually, going back to Queen B3, Black does not have to play E6 there. Well, maybe he does. Well, no, I guess this is the attack is here. What is the good move there? B5, no. Well, maybe Queen B3 is actually okay. But okay, so here White decides to keep his 2 pawns. Queen C8, and now probably some sort of just normal developing move. Bishop F4, pawn to E3. Knowing PT, he's going to play the move B4 here. This is his all-time favorite move. And seeing that he's not going to get punished by it, I predict he'll play B4 here. Well, he found ETH. Wow. Remarkably patient from old PT. So you're up 2 pawns. So exchanging knights and exchanging queens might not be entirely terrible. Follow that up with pawn to B4, and that probably actually equals something. Yeah, but I've been making all these suggestions that lead to what I think is like better end games for PT, but this is not his style. He always plays for the jazz, for the dynamism. Oh, but he actually does this. Look at this. How about this? So if he takes with the queen, does he trade queens too, or does he keep the queens on? Or does he play B4 now? I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. He's thinking about it though. So this means that there's a very good chance he will not play the normal looking queen takes queen. So that means he's probably looking at queen A5 check. Oh, he does it. Wow. So very non-standard type of thing that PT just did there. Normally when he thinks for a long time, he never does anything calm. He always does something that is mostly unexpected. This time around, he does something that is expected, but it takes him 3 minutes to do it. So, and Mr. Oshii here is playing extremely fast, so he's probably going to keep up that particular strategy. So he finally finds his knight a4 move, which at this moment doesn't really threaten all that much. That's why I would have preferred to play pawn to b4 there, because then you could play pawn a3 and keep your queen. Okay, so he's managed to outpost his knight, but unfortunately this knight does nothing. So he's just going to have to build up his position here for a while. b4, a4, bishop e2, castle, eventually play b5. Here, black should probably, well, see, black would like to play e5, but that hangs the d5 pawn. So that slows down b4. So he's not going to get in b4, which is probably antagonistic to PT's natural state, because he always gets in b4. I wouldn't be surprised if he played it here just as a pawn sacrifice. That's how much he loves to move b4. He'd be happy to trade off that pawn for absolutely nothing, anytime, any day. All right, so castle. Yeah, why not? So I suppose you could still play a3 and b4. Ooh, I don't know about that. a3. And if knight c2, then rook a c1, and that wins the knight, or at least traps the knight. Yeah. So what? Knight d3? Is that the idea? Bishop d3? I know, she's finally starting to think here. All right, so there you go. Now he gets his all-time favorite move, b4. In fact, I'm surprised he's thinking for so long already. Here we go, b4. Here we go. Here we go, b4. Here we go. He's taking a while. Oh, he finally, see? But I anticipated this. I thought he was going to play this instantly. So he takes. So of course you take back. And if he trades, you take back. He should have had that pre-moved. So he saved himself a second. Yeah, f4. Just stop up e5 for as long as possible. He takes. Okay, so this also, he could still play f4. Slow down e5. He could play rook to a5 as well. That's kind of an interesting move. Trying to get in the move pawn b5. But then but black could play bishop d3 here. So this isn't completely forcing. But this allows b5 check. Unless this isn't anything. Rook a8. Rook a8 pins the bishop. No, he missed. Well, I guess this is okay. So this threatens bishop a5. But he has this. So what? c6 check. Only move. c6 check. Only move. I guess this is not the only move. Well, he has been giving away rooks, so this feels like he's about to give away another rook here. This has been the theme of the day here. Free rooks at PT from PT. So yeah, this is again only move, but you have to play it instantly. You can't just sit here and think about it when you're less than 2 minutes. So here, yeah, I think that's actually, even though it's an odd looking move, I think it's the only try. So yeah, but now we're gonna get it. Yeah, so this is playable, and now he's gonna pick up a pawn or two, but it's gonna be an opposite color bishop endgame, but he's got less than a minute. So this is not this is unfortunately not going to be enough. Unless he could start picking up the pace here. So yeah, bishop f5. You have to anticipate that. F3 or that. F3 was better because at least you're trying to trap a bishop. F3, same thing. Yeah. Uh-huh. Moves the bishop and take e6. So he probably has good winning chances here, but unfortunately he has no time. It took him way too long to get all this. That is ridiculous. Take e6. King f2, king e2, excellent. Rook e5, good, and resigns. If he had more time, but of course he does not have more time, so he's going to play it out and try to dirty flag him. Take it. Don't give away your rook. Check him. Rook c. No. Got to be careful here. He has a totally winning position, just has no time. He didn't take d3. Again, that's not PT's way to take pawns. Now he just allowed a queen, but then white gets a queen, but now you have 3 seconds left. That's all about the dirty flag. No, that hangs f4, f3 would check, and then you lose the rook. He didn't take it. So now this guy's not using his time wisely. Now he could take the rook. Trade of queens would help. Yeah, well, where was the speed when you have only moves to play? That's what I want to know. Why do it when you only have 5 seconds left on your clock? You got to do it way before that. Way before that. Yeah. Well, that was too bad. All right, let's keep going. Tall mode. So at A6, okay. So let's see a real O'Kelly Sicilian here. All right. Well, not today. This is okay. This transposes to the Najdorf and then knight f6. So we have a Najdorf. Oh, okay. So I guess this is one of those Dragadorfs. Let's see how much PT knows about the Dragadorf. Mm-hmm. B5. B5. Mm. And so here we have a Dragadorf where the white queen was coaxed to E2 rather than D2. This is kind of an interesting difference because now there's it takes some preparation to put the knight on C4. He could have played H3 first. This is a little too much here. Bishop G4. No, I didn't even see it. Oh, and then he walks into E5. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Now he still has Bishop G4, maybe. He does have this. But the problem is I don't think he could take the rook on the next move. I think he actually has to save his knight. No, that should lose to E takes F. And that should be the end of it. He probably doesn't have to resign here, but this is very unpleasant. White's pieces are working well here. Okay, trying to use some queenside influence. So, trying to rip open the king side. This will be interesting. I thought A4 was the threat. Oh, he takes first. So he has no more dragon bishop. And he's down a rook, two bishops for a rook here. But I guess he does have some nebulous chances here. Queen A5, that forks F5 and C3. Might be worth something. D5. Okay, well, yeah, D5 wasn't threatening anything. Again, if you're playing for dynamic chances and you make so much as one move that doesn't threaten anything, the initiative can turn immediately, and your opponents might use this against you. That's why I like Queen A5. Queen A5 actually threatens something. Might have been unpleasant in any case, though. Okay, so yet again, we have a somewhat difficult position with all kinds of material imbalance here, even though it's equal material. But we are down 4 minutes on the clock. So again, if you're going to get a position like this, it's better to be the one with 847 and your opponent with 446. I would also like to remind everybody that if you have these kind of positions where you are sacrificing material or you're getting material imbalances for interesting positions, but your opponent is coming up with good moves, within a few seconds, that means that whatever you're doing is not confusing enough to your opponent. So you have to make moves that at least make your opponent think a little bit. If you're making all these like really nifty moves, but your opponent is responding with something adequate within, say, like 5 seconds, this means you're not confusing your opponent at all. And okay, so here you have to do a queen trade. So he has this extra piece in this ending, and black has to hope that white's pawns are weak enough to, and the passed pawns are strong enough to do something with this. I suspect that white is winning here, though, in spite of this bishop to a6 move. I think he's really trying to go for bishop to b7 and try to win a pawn. So here he probably has to play like rook to d2, right? And rook f1 is not on. So rook f2 again was another move that gives white an extra move. So this, of course, threatens the c6 pawn, which he defends. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so now he's picking up the pace. So it's finally occurring him to. So he got himself a passer. Suppose this is possible. Some sort of hope. Rook b2, rook d2, a3. Might not even be good enough. Yeah, A3. Yeah, he has to do that. A3 wouldn't have been good enough because of just simply rook takes, rook, pawn takes, and then bishop to E4, and everything is stopped. Yeah, White's technique here has been pretty good. Running out of ideas. A3, what a weird move. I guess he's just trying to fix the pawn on A4. Make it so that it can't move so that you can attack it, I suppose. To E5. So angling for rook to E3. White just does it anyway. Rook to E3, rook to A2, maybe. Yeah, maybe bishop C6 wasn't very. Oh, now you're just losing your A pawn for nothing. No, that can't be right. Rook to E3 was his only try. Well, now you can do it. Yeah, King G3 was sloppy. Now you can do it. Rook E3 check and then take A3. And you probably have some squirming chances here. Yeah, he shouldn't have played King G3. That was a bad move. And take A3. And there's an outside pass pawn that you don't have to worry about anymore. One less pawn you got to worry about. Well, he didn't take though. And he puts his king on a light square. Well, I don't know why he would do that. This means that the bishop can check later. Yeah, but now he gets to save the A pawn. Oh, no, the rook is on it. Okay, so maybe white has walked into something here. Oh my goodness, he did walk in this. Oh my goodness. Wow, white just walked into it. I don't believe it. I really don't believe it. Well, good job, PT. You had a really bad position for a really long time and managed to create a nice little checkmating net for yourself. Yeah, that was interesting. One move ago. So yeah, bishop to E8 was a horrendous blunder. Yeah, his whole whatever he did with his king was really bad. So this means like moving the bishop, and then if he goes king f6, you could, I suppose he could play h4 and keep his king safe. Wow. Okay. Well, is that going to be it there? All right. So I guess that was enough. Um, so we'll end it with this. So this has been Coach Matt for the Seattle Chess School. This is the first video that I've done like this where I have watched uh, a, a student play. I would be happy to do this with anybody that is a viewer of these videos as well. You don't necessarily have to be a student of mine. I will do the first few videos like this with students games. So this way we get, a chance to show off some of the talents here. Nevertheless, we will end it with this. And this has been fun. Thank you, PT, for donating your time. And I will see everyone else on the next one. Take care.